Hey guys, and down here, this is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the Seven Deadly Sins, 317, Prideful Determination. Now, this was like, let's get my kind of gripe with this chapter out of the way first. Now, last chapter, go from my review 14:50 onwards, so go from 14 minutes and 50 seconds onwards, I think it is, and that's pretty much my gripe with this chapter, is that I called exactly what was going to happen. I was never really concerned for Escanor's health or concerned for his life. I knew that he was basically going to be fine all the way through. And to be fair, this chapter Nakaba had me for the first half. I was like, whoa, and it was incredibly gruesome what happened to Escanor. But then with what happens kind of halfway through and then towards the end, it's pretty much exactly what I said would happen from 1450 onwards of my last review. So let's get right into it. That's really my only gripe, because even though some people might have a huge issue with this chapter, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really, really thought this chapter was amazing. It filled out everything we've already seen from Escanor in terms of his character, in terms of his characteristics, but it really just like skyrocketed and cemented exactly what Escanor is as a character and who he is as a character. So I thought it was fantastic. Really, really solid chapter. I cannot praise Nakaba enough for doing something like this to a character who's as beloved as Escanor is, and as hacks as Escanor is. I can't. You can call me an Escanor fanboy or whatever. I don't really ever classify myself as that, but I just really enjoyed the chapter. So let's get to it. So the first thing that happens is Escanor raises his puny toothpick of a sword and goes to fight this baby Indra, which slices straight through his shield and down from his like clavicle to his hip. And Gilthunder and the rest of them are just kind of watching. Gilthunder's like the only one who actually put in effort this chapter, which is one of my other gripes with this chapter. Hauser and Grimoire, these guys are just pure wasted characters. They're a good, fantastic, the best example of completely wasted characters. No development, no point in the story. Just there to essentially look at Escanor getting his ass tanned and being like, "Oh, how can he take this much damage? God!" And I'm just like, "Get your ass up, man! Come on, have some pride in who you are." So Gilthunder attacks the Indra. The Indra's just like, "Yeah, this guy's a waste, man." Brushes off the attack. Then he tries to lick tongue him. Once again, Escanor with his pride raises his shield, gets in the way. Tongue goes straight through the shield, straight through Escanor's right shoulder, and it's actually flopping around, be outside of his shoulder blade. It's gone straight through his shoulder, and it's just twisting and turning um, through Escanor's body. And this is where Hauser and Grimoire are just like, how are you still able to stand? You've taken all this damage. And this is where we see, once again, like, we've seen just in these few pages, we've seen Escanor taking on the burden of being a sin, taking on the burden of being that knight, being courageous, being um, selfless, putting his body on the line for the future generation. But here we see who Escanor is. We see that pride once again, and he's just there like, have any of you guys ever taken a hit from the captain? And they're just like, what the hell's going on? He's like, I've taken a hit from the captain. It's the most pain I've ever been in. It might have been my pride-filled form, my noontime version of myself, but I'll never forget that pain. So any other pain that I feel from now to my death is really insignificant. It's a bug bite compared to what the captain did to me. Now, you might have a gripe with that. I kind of have a small issue with that, in the sense that, yeah, but that's your noon form that took that hit. That noon form has like higher regenerative capacity. You have higher resistance, you have higher endurance, you have higher defense. There's a reason why you were able to take the hit, and even though it was the most pain you've ever felt in your life and you didn't admit it, there's a reason why you were able to tank it, and it's not something you should just be able to take the equivalent of in your noon, in your night form, sorry, in your weakened form. But let's just gloss over that for now. Well, we didn't really gloss over it, but we see that pride again. Then we see the protective nature of Escanor again. The whole kind of passing on the torch thing. He says to Gelthunder, Grimoire, and Hauser here, he's like, "You guys can complain about this all you want later. Get your asses out of here. I will be your shield. Just escape for now." So once again, putting his body on the line, he tries to attack the Endura, And here we see probably one of the most gruesome um, defeats, essentially, that Nakaba has ever drawn. The first thing we see is Escanor tank a few hits, and his sword arm, gets lopped off just like midway through the forearm, and he's there shocked, like, what the hell's going on? Where's my arm at? And then he just tanks a disgusting amount of hits. He's getting his ass whipped, cut, like his sinew is just flying everywhere. So he's being absolutely slaughtered. So many incisions being made on Escanor at this point in time. Not enough synonyms for me. And he's there, and he's taking all these hits, and he's like, I'm sure everyone would laugh at the sight of me. And then he's there bleeding out, and he's thinking, and he just thinks of all the sins with straight faces, and he's like, you know what? No, nobody's laughing at me at all. And I loved this monologue, this inner monologue we get from Escanor, just as he's on death's door here. He's getting his kidneys ripped out of him, essentially, and he's like, all these people, the other six sins out of the seven, they're all so incredible. They accepted someone like me, even in my nighttime form, without my grace at all, as one of the sins. It didn't matter whether I had this kind of debilitating weakness in my night form. They accepted me, and they treated me the same no matter which form I was in, whether it was my prideful noon self or whether it was my nighttime self. They treated me exactly the same, even though they were so powerful. They were truly kind. And this is the line that I loved this chapter. This is probably my favorite part of the chapter. He says that I was able to fight alongside them all this time is my greatest pride. And I was like, if anyone's going to talk about what they have the greatest pride in, you'd assume someone like Escanor would say something like, my bicep, my right gun, But here he says in his nighttime form and his more poetic form, he's like, this is my greatest pride, the fact that I was able to fight alongside the seven deadly sins. And then we see his body, and not a close up yet, and he's talking about how all these moments will forever be kept in his heart, but his body has been absolutely demolished. It's completely desecrated. His shoulder, one of his left arm's been cut at the shoulder, completely cleaved off. You can see his collarbone through that left shoulder as well. His right arm, from the kind of elbow up, is completely in tatters. He doesn't even have it from the elbow down. He's got a hole in his just above his left hip, and in this bloodied, disgusting, absolutely, there's not another word I can use. He's been pummeled. He's not even beaten and bruised. He has been ripped and shredded. It's like he's been put through a meat grinder of some sort. Even when he's in this state, his nose is lopsided because he's been cut through. His eye has been pierced, the right eye. He's there, and he just stares at the Indra, and he's like, I am the lion sin, Escanor, of the seven deadly sins. I was like, this dude, how does he wake up in the morning and slide out of bed with balls so big? I mean, like, this is such a good representation of who Escanor is. So then we see the three kind of wastemans again, Hauser, Griamore, and Gilthunder. Just they're like, stop, don't hurt him, don't eat him. And the Indra opens its mouth wide as shit. It's got surprisingly human teeth, which looks really weird. And you can see its tongue is completely coated in Escanor's blood, and it tries to bite down and consume Escanor, even though you'd want to do that when there was more meat on Escanor. So why'd you lop off his arms then decide to eat him? Anyway, the Indra gets absolutely erased from existence as it was about to eat Escanor. Then we just see Invigorate. Escanor's body completely heals. Somehow he heals his arms back as well. I didn't realize Invigorate could literally repair and reattach limbs. Well, it didn't reattach them, it just regrew his limbs for him. And Griamore, Hauser, Gilthunder, they all get invigorated as well. And it turns out that Escanor, maybe in his head, he was just praying really hard to Mael. He was like, I need your ass, get your ass down here. So Mael came, saved his ass, and here I was hoping that the three humans, well, the three lesser humans, Griamore, Hauser, and Gilthunder, would be like, they would be annoyed at themselves, they would be ashamed of themselves, their pride would be hurt, because they just saw someone come in and absolutely demolish this Indra, which neither of the three of them could touch, So I was hoping they'd be a little bit more depressed about that, but they're not. They're not even saddened by it. They're like, oh wow, that was cool. And I'm just like, you're wastemans. Escanor's happy that Miles there, it's all good. and he requests like some assistance from Miles. Miles like, I can't take on the Demon King for you. I'll help you any other way I can, but I can't take on the Demon King. It's not something I got in me. Eskimo's like, bruh, that's not what I'm asking for. That what I'm asking you for is, can you lend me your sunshine power? Mile is obviously very hesitant about this. He's like, you should know your body better than anyone. You can't handle the power of sunshine anymore. Your body's completely broken up inside because of your um, handling of it throughout the years anyway. And Escanor is just like, he tells Escanor, he's like, if you did take Sunshine back, you'd only be able to fight with it like one more time, and then after that, with total certainty, you're dead. And Escanor's like, you know what? It's cool. I don't mind. Just give me, please give me Sunshine, and I'm fine with it. And he basically, his reasoning is he's not throwing his life away. If the seven deadly sins are still risking their lives, he wants to risk his life and fight for the sins, even if he's not fighting for a particular person. Mile obviously hears this and he's like, you know what, I gotta give this guy what he wants. He's fighting for a reason and I'm gonna give it to him. My issue here, only one issue, is that Escanor's reasoning for wanting to fight is shit. Meliodas and Elizabeth are curb stomping the Demon King like that JoJo meme where everyone's just jumping in on that guy in the ring and they're just kicking him while he's down. They're literally just curb stomping the Demon King, so he's not going to help out there. And the Sins are killing, they are absolutely whooping the Indra, so they're Indra of favor, so he's not going to help out there either. But either way, Mile kind of holds out his hand and he's like, shake. So, like the dog he is, Escanor holds on to, he shakes Miles' hand, and Miles says one of the cool lines here. He's like, you've still got time before noon comes. And Escanor responds with, yeah, you're right. With a flash of light, piercing light, blinding everyone around them, and it doesn't really matter if Grimoire, Gilthander, and Hauser are blind, because that's pretty much how effective they've been so far. But then you see Escanor's hand gain immense mass in every possible way, bone, tissue, every tissue possible. His hand expands in size immensely. He looks like the freaking Hulk, with Miles' hand just kind of crushed in between his hand, not in a kind of senseless way. He didn't crush Miles' hand because he disliked him or anything. It's just that's how huge he's become. Obviously showing that he's become his noon form again. And I loved the fact that Nakaba put in kind of the side panel, well, the side at the bottom left of this one pager. He says the sun will rise again. I was like, my God, you cannot make this any more epic. So that's pretty much the end of the chapter. I enjoyed it. I don't give a shit. People might have not liked it. People might have thought, there was really no danger in this for Escanor. Like I said, the ultimate kind of payoff seems to be that Escanor will die, maybe, if he uses because he's using Sunshine one more time, even though he doesn't really need to, which is my argument. But I loved this chapter. I thought it was great. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.